Aloha, Chair Dlnr, members of the board. For the record, I'm Kapua Sprout, and I'm David and Linda's daughter. I have lots of different hats in our community. I think most importantly, I'm Kama'aina to Kauai. I was born and raised in Kalihiwai, and I have regularly used this alalo and the access throughout this area for traditional and customary purposes. Primarily, my family has fished in the area and gathered limu. But I also have different hats. I'm also a professor at the University of Hawaii at Manoa's William S. Richardson School of Law, where I'm cross-programmed with Kahuli'au Center for Excellence in Native Hawaiian Law, as well as the Environmental Law Program. And I'm also of counsel at Earth Justice, a public interest environmental litigation firm that regularly works on these types of issues. So I come before you today to share my mana'o, not just as a Hawaiiana and as someone from this place, but as someone with specific legal training in this area. I actually had not planned to testify because my mother's represented by Kimo Frankel at the Native Hawaiian Legal Corporation. But I was so disturbed by some of the representations that were made by the applicant that I was compelled to make a few brief clarifications, and I just have a handful of them for you. First, Mr. Lehman claims that this area has been ranched since the 1800s, but this entire area, up to Moloa'a, was in sugar until Kilauea Sugar closed in 1971. And ranching is a relatively recent occurrence in this area. And I think that Mr. Lehman's basic misstatement is a testament to his lack of familiarity with this area, as well as the uses that are dependent upon them. Second, Mr. Lehman claimed that cattle have always been in the coastal area, and that he saw hundreds of them on the beach or in the reef area. Well, I wish he had taken a picture of that too, because I have been using that area for the last more than 30 years. And 29. And my parents have been using that area consistently since the 1940s, and before that, for generations of Konahiki fishermen, back to time immemorial. So we have been using this area. Never in my recollection or my parents' recollection have we ever seen Mr. Lehman gathering or fishing in that area, or have we ever seen cattle down in the coastal area. Now, as my dad testified earlier, he was one of the first people with Uncle Sam Mahoiki to fence this area when Metagold came in, and that fence was up on the bluff. Of course, there are times, and my family has ranched for years, like John. Of course, there are times when you have breaks in the fence and cattle make it through the fence and get into areas where they shouldn't be, but they were not regularly grazed in the coastal area. And I think that's very important for this board to know. So Mr. Lehman's statement about that is simply false. On the issue of the petition, this is not a popularity contest. The board has specific rules that guide your decision making, and I think both Mr. Frankel and Mr. Yost have clearly articulated what the legal basis is for you to make your decision on. But even if it was a popularity contest, to me, the Kama'aina of this area should have more weight. And I haven't seen all of the signatures on the petition, but what I have seen of the signatures of the petition, and I urge you to look at them because you have copies in front of you, you'll see lots of people from Kopa'a, from Lawai, from Ele, people from the west side who don't rely on this area as a source of food for their families like we do. Finally, the issue of vagrancy has been brought up, several times by Mr. Wilson about, the vagrants in this area. Well, if you're not an absentee landowner and you're on the land, managing it properly, then vagrancy is not an issue. I understand that there are challenges. My family helps to malama 1,600-acre ahupua'a. Now, Mr. Lehman also raised issues about the difficulty or the impossibility even of accommodating traditional access and conservation. For us as Kanaka Maoli, that's never been a problem. Yeah. My family's always gone down there to pick limu, to fish, to do a whole range of other things. We don't disturb the monk seals. I'm glad they're starting to pick up trash now in the area, but every time we go down there, which has been for many, many more years, we always hike trash out of the trail. So this is part of a kuleana and something that's important. Also, if Mr. Wilson's not aware of any fisher people who want to use the alaloa, I'm one. And my family, and I'm not just me, my dad and my mom and many other people who couldn't afford to fly up here today want to do the same thing. So the bottom line is that really the law is clear, the facts aren't clear. Obviously more information is beginning to come to the board, but what is clear is that this isn't something that should have been decided without a public hearing, without understanding what was happening on the ground on Kauai. And with all due respect to Sam, who I've known for a long time, and to the applicants, This CDUP, as it's currently written, will abrogate the constitutionally protected rights of traditional and customary of Native Hawaiians seeking to exercise traditional and customary practices. So, and that's what the law is. So as you can see, this is an incredibly difficult community issue. It's a very complex issue. This is not something that my family takes lightly, to take time out of their work and life to come up here and testify. My sister is married to a Wilcox. So in addition to the community issues, this is a family issue for us. Yeah. But I hope you can see by the fact that they're here, that we've taken the time, that this is important. Not just to our family, but to many other people. So, but the good thing is, I have a solution for you folks. If what Waioli Corporation really wants to do is to do the right thing, to do the pono thing, then the easy thing for you to do is to reverse the chair's decision, to deny the application without prejudice for them to reapply. We have told them time and time again that we as a community are happy to sit down with them and work out what is an appropriate location for the fence. We didn't want to have to come to this hearing. We offered to mediate instead of going into a contested case, but that request was denied. So the community...
That's not true. I'm sorry, Sue.
Please.
Mr. Wilson, I didn't interrupt you when you were testifying, so please don't interrupt me.
Order. Done.
So the bottom line is, regardless of whatever the statements are about the mediation, is that we are willing to sit down together and work together as a community to try to work it out. Senator Hoosier has, you know, a lot of people have offered to try and help us with that process. So what I'm asking you to do is to help us with that process as well. Because if you don't reverse the chair's decision and deny the application, then we're forced into appeals and contested case hearings, which wastes this board's and the community's very limited resources. Instead of having us litigate over a whole bunch of things, give us the opportunity to be able to sit down and work together and do the pono thing. And the only way we can do that is if you deny this, is if you reverse the chair's decision. Mahalo.
Ikula!